When you come and stay at the living room tree houses, it's really lovely to light your wood burning stove. So if you've never lit one before, we thought we'd put this little video together so you know the basics, and maybe you can keep the link so you can remind yourself when you're staying. And don't worry, it's really easy. First off, chopping the wood. There's a wood store with your treehouse and it's filled with sustainably harvested wood from the local area. A couple of top tips. One would be to choose the lightest wood to burn, as that's always the driest. And another tip would be, when you're lighting the fire, always start with small bits of wood, which we call kindling. So it's time to get chopping. There's a splitter next to the wood store. Just place the wood on the blade and hit it with a hammer, and then repeat the process, splitting the wood down into small kindling sized pieces. If the wood doesn't split easily, well, just try a different piece. If you keep hitting the same piece with a knot in it, well, eventually you'll break the splitter. So just put that back in the woodshed and try another piece. As I say, kindling should be small, about 1 inch wide at the most. Also, I suggest at this point chopping some logs in half so you can take them to use on the fire as well after it's got going. Never use a whole log on the fire, always split a log at least once. Lighting the wood burning stove. Once you've got your wood back to the treehouse, well, it's time to light the fire. There are eco fire lighters waiting for you and matches, so everything you need to get a cosy fire. Your wood burning stove has a glass door and 2 air vents, one vent at the top and one vent at the bottom of the door. And these are the key things that help you control the fire. Once your fire is lit, you control the burn using the air vents and the door. Just so you can see how to build the fire, we'll demonstrate how to do it on the hearth of the fire so you can see easily, but obviously you do this in the fire itself. Build a pile of kindling around a fire lighter, a bit like a Jenga tower. Make sure there's plenty of space for the air to flow around the kindling, and don't build the tower too tightly. Make sure you leave some space so you can light the fire lighter easily when it comes to lighting the fire. A couple of really important things. Firstly, just use one fire lighter when you're lighting a fire. It's quite important that. And once the pile of kindling is built, light the fire lighter with a match. How to control the fire? Well, generally you want the door of a wood burning stove to be closed, but a good trick when you first light the fire is to leave the door open a crack. This lets lots of air in and helps get the fire going at the start. Also, when you're lighting the fire, open both the top and the bottom vents by sliding them to the right, again allowing loads of air in. So at the start, both vents open and door open, just a crack. After the fire's been going for around 10 minutes, well, then you can lock the door closed. And after another 5 or 10 minutes, close off the bottom vent. The idea is that once the fire is going well, you'll need to start reducing the amount of air feeding the fire, so the fire then burns more slowly and you get more heat out of the fire. And from that point, keep adding wood, and the wood can get incrementally bigger the older the fire gets. But as I mentioned before, never add a whole log, always chop the logs at least once. And another top tip would be, when you add a new log, well, open both vents back up for 5 minutes to get the new wood burning before closing the fire back down and reducing the air coming into the fire. What you're aiming for is an efficient fire, one that's burning slowly, not roaring away with all the heat going up the chimney. Remember a couple of things. When you're touching the flue or the stove or adding wood, make sure you wear protective gloves. They're supplied, they're on the hearth when you arrive. The stove obviously gets hot and you need to look after yourself. Also, there's a metal poker on the hearth if you want to move wood around inside the wood burner. As well as heating the space, the wood burner heats the hot water for the treehouse. It takes about an hour to heat the water tank. It happens automatically, and once the tank is warmed, it stays hot for several hours. You also might like to know it's fine to go to bed with the fire burning, but again, make sure the door on the fire is locked closed and you've extinguished any candles or tea lights, of course. A final top tip for the wood burner would be to chop some kindling for the following morning before you go to bed. It's really nice to light the fire in the morning and have a lie-in rather than to go down and have to chop wood first thing in the morning. Another top tip to help us out, it would be really great if you could leave your wood basket full and some kindling cut when you leave. The wood burner is really easy to work. If you remember to light it with lots of air going in and then dampen all that down once the fire has got established, you'll be absolutely fine. The tree houses are extremely highly insulated and they're very cosy all year. And remember, we're on hand to help if you need some. We really look forward to seeing you at the tree houses and to a wonderful treehouse holiday.